running again this morning, nice and early, Saturday morning, easy long run on tarmac today. So we've got a few experiments on the go today. I've got half a bottle of Coke, which is probably going flat now as I'm bouncing around hopefully. And this is because I was out last night drinking large amounts of beer. It was the med school Christmas awards do thing, so students and staff, and I went out with the anatomy group, who I love working with and spending time with. We had great fun, and I had lots of beer, but I feel pretty good for it. Got in very late and got up pretty early to go out running. Kim's taking Jack to a concert today, so I've got to get up early to get out, to get my hours in, to get back, to look after Annabelle before they go out. I didn't have a huge amount of sleep last night, but I did have a lot of beer-based carbohydrate, a little bit of tequila-based carbohydrate as well. Every time I went to the bar, I got mobbed by students wanting to buy me drinks, which was nice. But it meant I had more beer than maybe I planned to drink. It's a beautiful morning, I hate to miss it. Running is one of those things I've got to do, otherwise I don't feel right? As a lecturer, I insisted I should be buying them drinks, but they wouldn't let me. So, nice to feel appreciated. And I thought, since I'm training for ultra marathons, I might talk about my fastest marathon and my only marathon. So today's experiments are, one is nutrition, right? So, I mean, I'm going to be a little bit dehydrated after drinking a lot of beer last night, so I got a bottle of water and I got half a bottle of Coke, so sugary drink, and I got a bunch of gels. So I'm going to take more sugar than I normally would and see how that feels. Also, when I'm doing long distance stuff, I love Coca-Cola. It's like a magic recovery drink. Makes you feel great. When you're running really long distances, keep that sugar in, makes you feel happier, right? So I put some fizzy Coke and filled up half a bottle, so I'm seeing how that works, if the bottle's going to explode. Second one is this rucksack. So a few years ago, when I was training for triathlon, I crashed my bike. I've had lots of crashes on bikes, and I think it was in the summer. I think I just finished a tempo set, and I was just getting into Tewkesbury, and so I put me, I was riding unhanded, and I put my jacket on. I was either putting it on or taking it off. I guess I was putting it on if I just finished some tempo sets, and there was a pothole I didn't see, and I wasn't holding me bars. Front wheel hit the pothole. Normally, you know, that's bad enough, but usually not too big of a biggie. But it threw my wheel left into the curb, so I stopped instantly, went over the bars and landed on this shoulder, and I broke me clavicle. You know, as a cyclist, you've broken your clavicle when you go to pick yourself up from the ground, and you put your hands on the ground and you push yourself up and it doesn't work, you can't get up off the ground. It means you've broken your clavicle. No pain yet, just oh dear. Very famous cycling injury. I now joke that you're not a true cyclist unless you've broken at least one clavicle. Just look at the views this morning. This is where you get up early to go running. Look at this. Car driver behind me helped pick me up, and I was wondering where's the nearest hospital. Turns out I was right outside the Tewkesbury Hospital. I crashed right outside it, so I just walked over the road, took myself in, left my bike outside because I'd bent the front wheel and I don't know what else. And the lovely nurses there took fantastic care of me. Got me in bed, gave me a cup of tea, gave me lots of gas and air as they tried to take my jersey off and stuff. And I gave Kim a ring, and Kim and her dad came and picked me up. So that was, you know, if you're unlucky to crash your bike and break a bone, the best place to do it is right outside a hospital. Anyway, brings me back to why I'm running with a rucksack. If I'm going to be doing ultra marathons over mountains, you've got to carry a rucksack, so you've got to carry a whole load of stuff. You've seen on my long runs, I'm kind of just carrying some water at the moment. But, so this clavicle I broke, and it broke and it points up now. So there's a big lump here, right where the rucksack strap goes over it. So I have a problem running with a rucksack because it rubs against the skin and the clavicle. So what do? So I'm trying this rucksack. Is it better if the straps are tight? Is it better if the straps are loose? Is it better if I get a different rucksack with weight balance front and back? Do I need to pad out the strap? Or will my skin just toughen up? See, one of the trends in ultra running these days is not so much wearing a rucksack, more wearing it's more like a vest with all your stuff in it, because it's closer to your body so you're better balanced. Maybe that's better for my clavicle lump. Don't know. One of the reasons I'm running this particular route this morning is a few weeks ago we went looking for a geocache down here, which you might remember. Couldn't find it, and Rob Charles gave me a hint as to where he found it. So I'm going to run out here and have a look and see if his hint helps me. And I think I've forgotten a pencil. Bring a rucksack, forget a pencil. Brilliant. I remember correctly, it's down here somewhere. I can see rain on the end of the gower. I've got a jacket, but it'd be nicer if it didn't. There's a pen, that's kind of a good sign, isn't it? Pretty, nice, lovely. Raining. Thanks for the hint, Rob, but I'm still not finding it. How do you reckon this Coke's doing? Is it going to explode? These are quite good bottles, I can't let the air out. Before we had kids, Kim and I used to do all sorts of things, and one of them was climbing regularly. When the kids were born, that kind of stopped, because it's difficult to climb at that level and stuff. So I kind of stopped doing anything. And then started getting back into running, and had a view to doing some triathlon, which I'd done in the past. I'm doing it a little bit more seriously because I used to be a competitive cyclist. And the marathon's a special thing. It's a special distance, and I wondered how fast can I run a marathon? And of course the big target is 3 hours. So to run 26.2 miles in under 3 hours, I think you have to go a little bit faster than 7-minute mile pace. So I thought I'll do a year of running. I'll train for a marathon. I picked the Dublin marathon, which is an autumn marathon. And I wonder what 7-minute mile pace feels like. So I went out and ran 3 miles at probably a bit over 7-minute mile pace, and absolutely destroyed myself. I thought, no, this is impossible. This isn't going to happen. But I carried on training. I read everything I could about the training, about racing, about road running, about road racing. Anything I could get my hands on. I did a bunch of races during the year, 10Ks, half marathons, and as I trained through the year, my times got quite good. They got better and better, and kept building and got close to the marathon. And when you're training for a marathon, you do I think it's like at least 3 20-mile runs, and many of them were down here. I remember the worst one was in terrible weather, crazy winds out here, so running 32k in this horrible wind, I just blew to bits and had to get a Coke to get me home that time. So I built the mileage, got those 20s in, and my biggest week of running was about 140 kilometers. What's that in miles? 100k is 60 miles, isn't it? So, you know, I was getting some serious mileage in. And it was during this year that I really started using Gareth Davis regularly to look after my legs and my body as a whole. There's no way I'd been able to absorb that much volume and keep my injuries away without Gareth. And Gareth now runs Swansea Health Solutions, and he still looks after me. And as we got closer to race day, as we got closer to the taper, I was running alright, you know. And I remember getting back from a tempo run and sitting in the changing rooms, recovering, looking at my feet and thinking, I can do 3 hours. I wonder if I can do 250, you know, which would be massive. So So I put in thousands of miles in training. I understood the task as best I could, practiced my pacing, practiced my nutrition, but of course there are lots of things that can go wrong in a marathon. There's the famous wall at around 20 miles when you run out of stored glycogen and you blow. There's, you know, niggles that become bigger things. There's blisters, there's tripping and falling, there's all sorts, right? And the marathon's a big thing. So Kim and I flew to Dublin. Kim was my support crew. Left the kids with mum and dad. And Dublin's a lovely city. I like going there generally. And the race is really, really good. So I knew the course, knew what was coming up, and yeah, got to the start of the race, got myself in the pen for the right pacing and stuff, and off we went. And the first 10k were a breeze. The first 10k just glided through. I remember hitting there's a big electronic sign. I think I went through 10k faster than I ran my first 10k race when I'd been training that year, right? So I was just breezing through it. And then 20k, and this is so it's a 26.2 mile race, or 42.2 kilometers. As time goes on, it gets harder and harder. But I stick to my nutrition, got my gels pinned to my shorts, working through them one at a time, running in groups, and that group then gets thinner and thinner and thinner as people fall off the pace. And I remember getting through the race, and it gets harder and harder, and there's more and more pain. But the end, you know where the end is, you know what you've got to do. And I remember picking up some of the elite back markers, just started running through some of the elite women. It's like, I seem to be running all right here. And one of the challenges of long distance running and racing is doing the maths in your head while you're very, very tired and in a lot of pain. But the maths were looking good, you know, and I was still knocking off my times. And I remember we were getting back in towards Dublin centre where the finish was. It was getting really, really hard, and I knew the shape of the finish. I knew how it was going to end. And we were all strung out by this point. And there was a guy behind me, not far behind me, and he had his name across his vest, right? So you could hear the crowd shouting his name and cheering him on. So you could hear how far he was behind me. I kept pushing, trying to keep away from him. And you could hear those cheers getting further and further away behind me as I put in the gap between us. And the pain was excruciating. Those last 5 miles. It's like nothing else. And I've got a photo from Dublin Centre, which the official photographer put in the hall. I do not look in a good way, but I was still running strong and running well and hitting my times. And I was getting closer and closer to the finish line. I was doing the maths in my head, and the maths were really good. And that feeling is just brilliant. It's so good when you're approaching the finish line. You've done all this work, not just 26 miles of work, but a year of work for this moment, and you just had to charge for the line and keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And I think my pacing was absolutely perfect, and it must have been one of the most perfect races I've ever done. The pacing was spot on. I think it was a negative split. I completely died on the line, stumbled through the finish line into a TV crew interviewing, I think, probably the women's winner, just, you know, staggered through the finish line in bits. And then of course I was at kind of the front of the race. I think I finished about 94th or something, have about 15,000 runners. So of course in the centre there, it's all gated off, and they've got this big square you walk around because they're expecting thousands of runners to come through. And this is just me and 93 other people who've come through so far, so it was empty. We'd have to walk all the way around this big square and, you know, pick up your t-shirt and your goodie bag and stuff. I couldn't get round the square. I was struggling to stand up and to keep walking. I can't remember if I sat down or not. I think I just kept doing like a zombie stagger. I could see Kim on the other side of the wire. I couldn't get to her. And I looked at the time, and the time was 2:46. 2:46. for a marathon, first marathon as well. I finally walked all the way around and got to Kim and then sat down and she looked after me, and of course I'm covered in sweat, so she's got me bag and took me clothes off, put some dry clothes on, put some, you know, jogging trousers on. I couldn't put the trousers on, I couldn't bend my legs, couldn't bend them, they were fixed ridges. So Kim had to dress me and pull my trousers on, then I couldn't stand up, so she had to pick me up. Once I got up I was alright. It was a really good race, and I haven't done another marathon since, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I never planned to. I planned to get into triathlon, and triathlon went very well. And two, well, that race was one of those races that was such a perfect storm, I struggle to imagine doing a better job. Right, beautiful as it is out here, time to turn around. About 13k to get home, so now it's in back run today. It's colder than I thought today, puddles are frozen. There we go, back to civilization. This is going to be about 25k again. Been out for about 3 hours, including geocaching and a bit of flying and stuff. I feel really good. So the Coke thing worked, the bottle didn't explode, it lost its gas. This isn't rubbing too badly. Maybe it's because I got 2 layers on, so it's just cutting down that bit of abrasion. Learning. And yeah, I feel really good. Maybe I should drink several pints of beer and a little bit of tequila every night before a long run. There we go, back in the van. Chucked a hill in the end, see how that would feel. That felt challenging, but better afterwards. I recovered okay. Running on tarmac is, doing a long run like that, I find it's kind of more tiring, more energy sapping than cross-country running sometimes. Right, what's next? Annabelle might be a bit too ill to do anything else this weekend, and if that's the case, we'll see you next week.